Welcome to the Writer Reads Short Stories. This is The Politics of Dragons, Part 2. Down there, Ingeri, take one of the lady's men with you so he knows where the beasts are kept. And so he can help you with the stabling, he thought, but did not add, watching as the elf's two guards exchanged worried glances. The elf answered their uncertainty. Hold! One of you can go with them once I've delivered my message. Yes, Lady Verash. A message? Bright asked, and the elf woman's face grew stern. My lady does not think you have thought your answer through, the elf replied. She bade me ask you think what it would mean to have an unfriendly neighbour on your border. Unfriendly? Bright allowed his puzzlement to show. But we parted on cordial terms. Typical male, the elf spat scornfully. To think being refused means anything remains cordial. My lady is most displeased. Bright shrugged. Your lady's temperament is no concern of mine, but I am afraid her proclivities make us incompatible for a relationship closer than that of allies, and I thought I'd made that clear. She sees your refusal as a threat, the elf informed him. If you do not harbour hostile intent, why would you refuse a closer relationship? Now his men were paying attention. Alliances meant a great deal to them, and not just from the point of view of keeping his hide intact. Alliances led to stability, and some of them had families to think of. I did not refuse a closer alliance, Bright corrected the elf. I refused a marriage. If your lady wishes to see our lands allied, that I have no objection to. Yet you would refuse to share her bed, the elf answered bluntly. It is not just the bed, Bright answered, but the proximity and intensity of the sharing. Such things can be negotiated further, the elf replied. My mistress does not see why it cannot. Bright reddened further, then took a deep breath and let it out. No further negotiations may be undertaken, he reluctantly explained, because I am already in similar negotiations with another. The elf's jaw dropped, her expression showing something of what her mistress would feel about that piece of news. Bright stifled the urge to apologize, and then stifled a surge of anger. No one had the right to dictate whom he took to his bed, or whom he chose to wed, least of all a female whose only interest in him was the power she could gain from chaining him to her side. No, Kaveriga Shom could content herself with an alliance and find herself another mate, or he firmed his jaw and met the elf woman's gaze with a look that said he would not be swayed. Ingeri exchanged glances with his sergeant, and Bright did his best to keep his misgivings from his face. The captain and his guard were discovering all his secrets today, including why their lord disappeared 1 week out of every 10. Bright would have preferred the chance to tell them himself. He shoved aside the thought that he should have done that long ago, but he'd known how the folk of the north felt about dragons, and hadn't wanted to risk getting speared in his sleep. Well, it was too late for that now. These men were his personal guards. They had more access to him than anyone else, if only because they needed it in order to try and keep him alive. If they wanted him dead, he was going to know it sooner rather than later. Another? The elf sounded quite annoyed. Which is nothing to how her mistress is going to be when she finds out, Lord Bright thought, turning to Ingeri. You can, he began, only to have Verash cut him off. Let me just get that fixed. I haven't delivered the mistress's message, she announced, and Bright froze. Taking a firm grip on his temper, he pivoted to face her, not missing the reaction from her guards when he did so. Stifling a growl of impatience, he said, And what message did your mistress wish you to convey? Verash pursed her lips. Ooh, listen to you being so formal. Verash, Bright warned, and she pouted. Fine, she conceded, then stood taller and cleared her throat. Mistress Kvergashom sends Eidbjorthbjörgen greetings and felicitations. A muffled snort came from one of the men holding the horses, but neither Bright nor Varash looked around. The lady's guards, however, scowled, and Bright hoped they'd remain civil. No one moved as the woman continued. Kvergashom nihas varech da Shemveld. Bright felt his heart sink at the elf's use of the dragon's full title, but the elf didn't notice. Kvergashom nihvarek da Shemveld seeks a binding of the bloodlines in order to ensure the peace and continued unity of purpose between our two kingdoms. Such unity, she believes, is only possible through such a bond, and no lesser bond will do. Without it, war is inevitable, and the casualties will be great. Bright felt the wards guarding his lair echo with a sudden pressure, but from the inside, as though a spell sought to escape rather than enter. A hollow chiming echoed through the chamber, and his guards surged forward, dropping the horses' reins as they moved to protect him. Bright stopped them with a single upraised hand, narrowing his eyes at the lady. "Care to tell me what that was about?" he demanded, but her face was pale. "Varash!" Bright's snapped command made her jump, and she lifted her eyes to meet his. "You were meant to see him," she replied, her eyes wide. "You were meant to see him so that you and the mistress could discuss terms. I I don't know what will happen to him now the spell is broken." "Which spell broke?" Bright asked, keeping his voice firm and forbidding. "The one surrounding my familiar, or the one meant to deactivate the one surrounding my familiar?" The elf blinked at him. "How did you know?" she whispered. "How—" "I know your mistress's proclivities," Bright told her sharply. "Now, which is it?" "The one meant to show you your familiar," she replied. "It was meant to activate on the end of the message." "And you did not think I would have wards against such magic?" "The mistress did not think you would have considered it." Bright glared at her. "Just exactly how compliant a partner does she think I'd be?" Varash coloured, her pale skin flushing with discomfort. "Please, Lord Bright, that is not—" Bright stepped closer to her, and her guards shifted, only to be frozen in place even as his guards moved to intercept them. "Stand down," he ordered quietly, "and see to the horses. As you can see, no harm can come to me in my own domain." He fixed Varash with a steady gaze, noting that only two of his guard moved to obey him. Captain Ingeri and his sergeant remained. He ignored both to focus on the elf. "The same cannot be said for the familiar of my overly persistent suitor." "Are you threatening me?" Varash asked, and Bright caught the flash of warning in her eyes. She hadn't moved from where she'd been standing. He took note. "I am not your mistress," he told her. "I would not stoop to threatening another dragon's familiar. Most are pawns rather than partners." The woman's eyes flashed. "Yours isn't." From the way she said it, Bright thought she sounded jealous. He shook his head, choosing not to confront her. "No. He is my partner, and I would not have it otherwise. We are stronger that way. The bond is stronger." "And you do not have another?" From the way she said that, Kavaraghasham did. "I could not," he admitted. "Not if I wanted to build the bond we have." "But why?" Varash asked. "My mistress deems numbers a greater boon." "Your mistress seeks to reduce the vulnerability of losing a familiar. If the bond is not unique, then breaking it will be less debilitating than if it was only the one." "Oh." The look on Varash's face said she wasn't sure how to feel about that. Relieved, perhaps, that her mistress would not be harmed if Bright took revenge, but disappointed, too, that the bond between them was not considered important enough, that she was not considered valuable enough to be the only familiar her mistress sought. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "If you speak the message again," Bright asked, "will the spell trigger again?" Verash chewed her bottom lip. "I maybe. But if the wards prevent it from leaving—" "They won't," Bright told her. His mouth curled in regret as he dropped the spells protecting his home. Verash was shocked. "My lord," she protested, "you don't know what my mistress has planned." Bright bared his teeth and his guards drew back. He didn't care. "If Kavura harms my familiar, I will make her an example to any others who seek to do the same. Repeat the message." Verash obliged. "Kavura Nihishvarek da Shemveld seeks a binding of the bloodlines in order to ensure the peace and continued unity of purpose between our two kingdoms. Such unity, she believes, is only possible through such a bond, and no lesser bond will do. Without it, war is inevitable, and the casualties will be great." This time a window opened in the air slightly above them, and Kavura voice rippled through. "Eadbjorth Björgen," she purred, sibilance rippling along her words. "Kavura Lord Bright answered, aware of his men stepping forward to bracket him, of the horses huddling at the end of the room as his other men came to join him. Ingari stepped closer, gently moving Verash so that she stood between her guards. "Show me my familiar," Bright demanded. Kavura tutted. "I need your answer." "Not before I have my man." "Which one?" Kavura came into view, her sinuous form drawing gasps of surprise from his guards. "I have so many." Lord Bright noticed their hands descend to their hilts. "All of them, and in good health," he replied. "And my women and children too." "Now what makes you think I have so many?" she simpered, and Bright scowled. "Are you telling me you do not?"